Grand Rising, and welcome to Sunday Rising with Taima. The intention of Sunday Rising is to plant seeds that expand consciousness as well as offer tools and encouragement for the week ahead. This episode contains subjects of shock, crisis, death, and transformation. It has been a tough episode for me to create because these are heavy subjects, albeit part of life and ultimately all about perspective. In this episode, I'll be sharing vulnerable stories about friends and family members that passed away unexpectedly and the messages they shared with me. My phone rang late on New Year's Eve. It was my mom in a frenzy. She received word that her sister may have been hit by a car and may or may not have survived. My mom was unsure because nobody had been able to identify her sister at that point. Spirit began to come through me immediately, and I'm not sure what I said to my mom while channeling over the phone, but I remember her saying, "Okay," and we hung up. I immediately went into my meditation room and began to get into the psychic state. My theory was that if my aunt had passed away, she would come through as a spirit, and I would know, and if not, I would be able to receive intel about the situation from my guides or Great Spirit. I began to focus on my breath. And when I reached the psychic frequency, my aunt came through in her spiritual expression, and I immediately knew she had passed over. I could feel her presence, and she was at peace. She wanted me to tell my mom and everyone in the family that she was happy and free, and that she didn't kill herself, but she did take an exit point. She wanted to be respected for her choice, and she wanted the family to understand that her subconscious choice to take the exit point and pass over helped her because her life was very challenging and she was exhausted on the physical plane. I agreed to respect her choice and relay her message to my family. The family members I shared her message with felt relieved, and it resonated as truth and helped them cope with the shock and physical tragedy of her death. Another very prominent experience was when a childhood friend suddenly died in a car accident and came through to me with a message for everyone on his Facebook. He was very persistent in life and still very persistent in his spiritual form, and he implored me to deliver his message to our friends. His message was sound and apologetic for his sudden departure into the spiritual realm, but he felt whole and encouraged everyone in his life to embrace him in his non-physical expression. Part of his message read, "If you find yourself sad at my perceived absence, I will most likely share a joke or a fun memory we had to remind you that I'm still around. If you believe me that I'll always be with you, then leave a chair open for me at your wedding and a chair open for me during coffee dates. You don't need to do this stuff for me to be with you, but it will remind you that I'm there." Exit points were described to me as specific times within your spiritual blueprint where you can choose to pass back into the spiritual world, aka die. Ever since I learned this concept, I've thought of life as a highway and exit points as off-ramps that one can choose or not choose. The mentor who taught me about exit points did so when I was going through one myself. At that time in my life, I was experiencing extremely debilitating asthma and was being faced with the subconscious decision to die from it or continue to live. I chose to stay on the highway of life and ended up embarking on a shamanic journey to learn how to heal myself. This month, many people celebrated Dia de los Muertos and honored the lives of their passed over loved ones. This holiday is said to happen when the veils between the spirit world and the physical world are the thinnest. And though I do communicate with my passed over family members on a regular basis, during the week of Dia de los Muertos, I could feel them more physically manifested than usual. My reading lamp turned on and off several times by itself throughout the week, and I felt my relatives were enjoying the physicality that they were able to embody while the veils were thin. Contemplating death as an organic part of life brings deep understanding and highlights the illusion of separation. So this week, I invite you to reflect on how you view the topic of death. How do you now view the people in your life that have passed over? Do you still communicate with your passed over loved ones? If you don't, why not? Have a beautiful week, and I'll talk to you again next time on Sunday Rising.